Hello, everyone. Welcome to Easy and Effective Energy Healing Tools that anyone can use. I'm so excited to share this with you today because many times the simplest things are the best things, and we do tend to underestimate them. So that would be my warning and disclaimer. Don't underestimate how simple and how effective things will be that I'm going to teach you today. My name is Alex. I'm the founder of Health for Animals Animal Healing Program. And I just wanted to provide this webinar for everyone because I think this information is really too good to be kept secret. Not that it's secret, but it's just that it's not well known to many. And so I want to start out by two main and easiest things that you can use. I will teach you how to talk to inner physician of anyone and give them instructions that they can follow. And I'm also going to teach you about one very, very easy technique called energy circles that can direct energy to anyone. When we talk about energy and energy healing, generally speaking, we tend to think that it is required to have some special gifts, right? We think that it's required to um, be able to sense energy, to transmit energy, um, all these different things that we need, tools that we perhaps need, radionics machines, that we need all sorts of stuff. But actually, none of that is true. So my goal today is to show you how to do things that um, allow sources other than ourselves to actually direct energy, and we don't have to do anything with it except something super basic. So the first super basic thing is energy circle. And so imagine this. So I will show you. There's a circle, right? There is a very archetypal power about the circle in a sense that anything that's contained within it joins in and it creates a synergy between these items and it directs energy as placed in a circle. So if it's not too hard, grab a pen and a paper and draw a circle towards the top, but without crossing the line on the circle. So we're just going to do this. We're not going to talk too much about it. We're just going to do this. First, think of someone or something that needs help in some way. Think of your pets, your animals, yourself, your friends, your family, anybody. So choose one person that has something they need help with, right? And now you can do things as complicated as you want, but the good thing is to start with something that can be solved easily and quickly so that you can see how well this works. Also, you can choose something that you really enjoy. Let's say an easy way to see the benefit of this is think of something that brings you immediate benefit. Like let's say a massage session, right? So what you would do is you would, inside the circle towards the top, write your name or the name of whoever you want to receive the benefit of the energy circle. Underneath that name, so for example, you actually write what it is that you want. So if you say, I'm using this as an example, if you chose yourself and you said you're thinking about how amazing it would be to have a massage and you think about the benefits you receive, you can write underneath benefits of massage therapy. And then you would set that piece of paper face up, right? So that the circle is visible. You could actually, so you can just sit it somewhere and forget about it, or You can put it underneath your pillow, say overnight, or you can put it under your chair, or you can, leave it anywhere, really. And that circle is gonna start to send energy to you to give you the benefits of a massage. So then, if you have done this right now, for example, by the end of this webinar, you can tell me how you feel. You can say if you're feeling differently, or you can say benefits of yoga, and then see whether you feel more relaxed, whether your muscles feel more stretched, or how you feel. If any healing is required, right? Let's say you have a pet with upset stomach, right? So you would write the name of the pet. You would put underneath whatever you want to accomplish. You could say stomach issue healed, right? Or send energy to the stomach issue. And you just leave that, right? And then you watch what happens. If somebody has a splinter, you can put their name. You can put splinter remove or splinter expel, and let it sit. How long that energy is active? As long as you leave that energy circle up. You can stop it by crumpling the piece of paper. You can temporarily suspend it by flipping it over and putting it face down. You can tear it up, right? But that is basically your energy circle. Now, I plan to teach more in the future because giving description works. What works even better is to put in codes. Now, that is too much for this webinar, but I plan to teach that later. There are specific word codes and number codes that relate to a very particular conditions. When you pair that up, when you put these codes inside a circle, then the energy reacts a lot more directly and swiftly. So that's subject of another thing, but just for you to know that this exists. Also, another fabulous thing about this is that you can, when you think about it, you're putting inside energy circle everything you want to happen. What is on the outside? On the outside is everything that is kept outside of that boundary, right? So actually, we can employ energy circle in two ways. One is to get what we want, right? To send energy to what we want. But another way is also to keep out of our life, of our boundary, what it is that we don't want. So if on your piece of paper where you have drawn your circle and you have a space around it, you can write around everything you don't want, right? So an example, say you wanted to receive the benefits of sun salutation yoga pose. And you could write your name, you could write underneath sun salutation yoga pose. But then on the outside, you can write injury, overstretching, pain, soreness, anything that would be considered, that could happen as part of you practicing this pose that you don't want, right? So you're simply keeping out of your boundary the unwanted things, and in the boundary things that you want. So you can create general circles truly for anyone, right? Please only use them for good, right? Because I think that, we always deal with the what goes around comes around principle. We also always deal with a yes principle, and we always deal with the principle of free will. So don't ever be afraid to use this on someone that you say, I'm not sure if they want this, I'm not sure if this is good. As long as your intention is good, don't be afraid to send them whatever energy you want. And they have the free will to either accept or reject. So never be concerned about that. And so You can create the general well-being circle, right? So you can put more than one name if you want to send them the same thing, right? So you can say good health and happiness. And you can put all the names you want to send that to and just leave it permanently. And it will, in subtle ways or more pronounced ways, right, influence people's lives for the better. And there is a real benefit, I think, to doing good in secret, you know, doing good without expecting to be found out, you could say, without expecting a direct payback from that person. So I think creating energy circles and sending good to people that don't know about it could be even more powerful, right? So I suggest that we make all who watch this video, whether now, whether on replay, does not matter, but that we all create energy circle where, for example, we can benefit all the animals in this world or all the pets in this world. So, for example, we can say animals or our pets, and we can say health, happiness, well-being. You know what we could put on the outside? We could put suffering, we could put vivisection, we could put abuse, all the things we want to keep on the outside, right? We don't want to touch them. And so in that way, you know, and anywhere that, right, two or more gather, there's a power to it. And we can create some good for the world. So that would be it on energy circle. If you have questions, please type them in. And if you're watching this video on a replay, it will be on YouTube. So you can always place comments and I will try to respond as quickly as possible. Now, enough about the energy circle. Another thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that every single being has inner physician. That is that part of us that completes all healings. That is the part of us that keeps us in balance. That is what you could refer to as the natural healing power. That is the wisdom within. Now, anytime that we have some problem that, you know, is shown visible, anytime that we have a problem that is chronic, it means that that inner physician has been stumped or has failed on some level, right? In a sense that maybe it has been distracted, maybe it has forgotten how to do certain things, maybe there's been too much trauma, maybe is overwhelmed, you know, who knows what has happened. But at any rate, so that inner physician needs some help and direction. So I'm going to teach you how to speak to that inner physician so that it actually hears you. So I'm not just going to explain, we're going to do this as we go. And so I'm just going to lead you through this process. So let's get centered. Let's take 3 deep breaths in and out. And try to pay attention to your breath as it flows in through your nostril and out. Feel it kind of tickle your inner pathways. Feel it in your sinuses, feel it in your throat, feel it as it descends in your lungs. So anytime that you pay attention to anything within, it will center you. And that's all you need. And the reason I'm even trying to center you is because I'm going to use the word imagination, and many people get afraid of it because they will say, I'm not able to imagine, I'm not able to visualize. Believe it doesn't even matter. You can just decide that imagination has happened. It doesn't actually have to be anything really detailed or really profound. So now that we are centered, I want you to think of someone with needing help in any way, with any kind of a symptom, any kind of a health issue, anything you can think of. So it could be your pet that maybe has cataract. It could be anyone that has any kind of issue, skin issue, joint issue, any kind of a health symptom. And so once you have that animal or that person in mind, it could be yourself, by the way, also. There are two ways you can contact your physician. If this is a person, including yourself, what you can do is, in your imagination, you can dial the phone number, and then you hear it ring in your imagination, and you wait until that person picks up. It could even be you, right? You could be dialing your own phone number and wait until you pick up. If this is an animal, or you just choose this method, you can see this person or this animal maybe a few meters or a few feet away from you with their back turned towards you. And then in your imagination, you call them by their name. You watch them turn around, face you, and come towards you. So when I say watch them, you either see it happen in your imagination, or you simply decide that now they have turned around and came towards you. That's it. When that has happened, so actually I'm going to give you a few seconds to accomplish that. So close your eyes. See the being that you want to help. Have them be turned with their back towards you and a little bit away. Call them by their name. They have turned, looked at you, and came towards you. When that has happened, simply ask them to stop time and see that whole scene in front of you freeze. It's like you were watching a movie and you put it on pause. Same thing if you're on the imaginary phone call with this person. The moment they answer, you ask them to stop time. Now that they have stopped time, you will ask the inner physician to come and speak to you. You may see this inner physician as like a miniature of the being you are helping. You may see it as an actual doctor in a white coat. You may perceive it as some kind of a energy or orb of light. You may not see anything. You may hear, you may not hear anything. It does not matter. You have asked that inner physician to come out. It's out. And then you're going to present a problem to that inner physician that is being faced. So let's say that we are dealing with chest congestion. Let's say somebody has a really bad cough. So you can take that inner physician on the lung expedition, you could say. In your imagination, you and the inner physician become very small. You go inside the lungs and you see all the gunk. And you can show that to the inner physician and you say, look, this has to go. This has to be removed. So we need to clear it. Now, many ways you can use this, many things you can imagine, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about which way you want to imagine, because the inner physician will likely take it very literal. Say you can imagine, those like air blowers that, for example, when somebody has cut the grass, then they use the blower to blow it out. You can use that and blow out all the mucus out of the lungs, right? And once you have done that, you can imagine this beautiful, gooey, green feeling liquid and just patch all the lung passageways with it. The thing is, though, anytime if you're imagining it being blown out, forcefully expelled, don't be surprised if that person then has fits of coughing and spits out a lot of mucus. So, I mean, that can happen anyway, right? But because it might be unpleasant, a different way to imagine would be to perhaps picture some magic healing vapor that simply evaporates that mucus and the person breathes easily and it doesn't have to go through the expelling process, right? That is possible. And then still, you can finish with some healings, putting some nice coating of whichever color appeals to you on those lungs and seeing them breathe easily, openly, freely. And once you have done that, you can instruct the inner physician that they can repeat this as often as necessary until the person is fully well. When you're done with that, you will thank the inner physician. You will send them back into the body. And you will leave. And then don't forget to say start time. And then you thank that person and you have them walk away from you. And that's how your imagination ends. Now, I will tell you an example of what happens when the inner physician takes you literally and why you want to be careful as to how you imagine it. Let's say that you have imagined somebody with an open wound and you wanted to heal up. You can instruct inner physician to sew it up. But if you have done that, keep in mind that sewing is something an actual physician does, right? A doctor would do. So this person may actually end up in a hospital and having themselves sewn up. Still, the healing will be the result, but yet that is an extra trauma. It would be a lot easier if you instructed inner physician to use some magic super glue and have that wound come together on its own, right? Now you have kind of avoided the possible visit to the hospital. And here's an example of what can happen, when the inner physician takes you literally. One of my dogs several years ago had a cyst on his chest. It was benign, but it was just there. So every time you pet it, you feel that cyst. And so I spoke to the inner physician, and without thinking about how it's going to be accomplished, I just showed it as cut and drain. I just saw cut and empty and then put back together. So I was away that day. When I came home and opened the door, of course, my dogs were happy to see me. But the floor was white tile. There was blood all over that white tile. I panicked, of course. At first, I didn't know who it was coming from or where it was coming from. And lo and behold, when I looked at my dog with whose inner physician I was chatting, the cyst on his chest has ruptured open and it looked sliced as by a knife. And it was all drained. So blood, pus, whatever it was in there, it was drained and it healed fine afterwards. But I think we could have avoided that. I think I should have given a different instruction, such as given a magic vaporizer to the inner physician and had them actually just shrink that cyst as opposed to cutting it open, which is exactly what happened, right? So keep that in mind. The inner physician will be sometimes extremely literal. After all, that natural healing power of ours is very crude, right? And it will sacrifice certain things in order to make other things happen, right? It's the same power that if the splinter gets too infected, will literally cut off your finger, right? Make it gangrenous and fall off just to protect the internal organs, as opposed to figuring out an effective way to push that splinter out. So just keep that in mind. And so whenever you imagine something, imagine it in an easy way, for you to deal with. There was Another beautiful example, I'm not gonna name anyone, but this happened to a friend of mine who is also fantastic physician in her own right. But she used this method to help a person with breakouts on her face. And so she instructed inner physician to stand behind the skin, so to speak, and push everything out that was not needed. What resulted is that she had a call from this person the next day saying that her whole face is exploded in eruptions. So inner physician has indeed pushed everything out, right? So be careful how you imagine things and think how that will show up in real life. So again, it could have been easier to imagine these things shrinking or vaporizing or somehow being transformed or transmuted. So whichever direction you give to that inner physician, that's kind of how it's going to follow. So to recap, what we're gonna have is, first you're gonna see the person you want to help with their back turned towards you, or you're going to dial their phone number. In your imagination, you'll either answer the phone or you will see them turn towards you when you call them by their name, and you will see them walk towards you. You will ask them to stop time. You will ask the inner physician to speak to you. You will tell them and show them in your imagination, however you want it to happen, what you want to happen, what they need to do. Give them instructions. You can do this as often as you want, by the way. And then when you have shown them everything, you thank them, you send them back to do their work, you ask time to start, and then you either hang up the phone or you send the person out of on their way, and you see them leave and turn away from you. And that is all for those two processes. So you see, there was nothing really required of you specifically in terms of having to generate any kind of energy, of have any sort of gift. Of course, you can use these two methods, the energy circle and speaking to the inner physician simultaneously. You can use them both. You can use them as often as you need. Never be afraid. There is immense power in the simplest things. And so I do hope that you enjoyed this. I hope to see you again, and I hope to get some reports on how this works for you. And until then, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.